In Papua New Guinea, people are dying because they have to take a canoe 5 to 7 days to get to the one and only hospital. We're talking to somebody who's doing something about that in the hangar. Hello everyone, we are here on location at AirVenture Air Show, airplanes flying all around. We are at the Flying Eyes booth, and I'm Dan Milliken.
I'm Christy Wong. Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsors, Flying Eyes. In fact, today I'm wearing the special gift edition Flying Eyes.
Nice.
They support girls in flight training. You can find them actually here at the booth if you're at AirVenture, or you can go online.
And speaking of online, we're also sponsored by Colton Mortgage. If you're looking for that residential or refi mortgage, go to a pilot-run company. Colton Mortgage, go to coltontakingoff.com. We're also sponsored by Marshall Protective Services. Nick Olson is a big supporter of this channel. MPS Protects. We want to thank our sponsors. We have somebody who saw a big need in a developing country and is doing something about it using aviation. Mark Palm. Mark, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. What a beautiful day at Oshkosh.
Oh, it's perfect.
It is a beautiful day. Mark, tell us about Samaritan Aviation and what that's about and how you got started.
You know, Samaritan Aviation, we're a Christian nonprofit. We work in Papua New Guinea.
Wait, is it Papua or Papa? Or is it Papa?
Papua, however you want to say it.
Okay.
But you do count the U.
Yeah, that's important. It's 8,000 miles away. It's interesting. Most people in America don't even know where it is, but for those who don't know where it is, it's north of Australia. It's in the South Pacific. It's actually the second largest island in the world.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
One of the most remote places in the world, actually. And fifth of the world's languages are spoken there. There's 8 million people that live on this half of the island that we work on.
Holy cow,
And
8
so,
million.
8 million, and it's considered the last frontier by a lot
wow.
of people because it's so remote and lack of access. And so I went over there, I was 19, saw a need over there, and lived with the people in these remote communities, and kept telling stories after story of people dying, trying to get to the only hospital. And so I went back, started flying after that, and we started Samaritan Aviation in 2000. We do medevacs on a 700-mile river. There's 250,000 people that live on this river. As you said, they're 1 to 5 days away from the only hospital. And when you take a float plane, you have 700 miles of runway. And we can land and bring patients back in an hour, hour and a half. And we're talking snake bite patients, breech births. 40% of all of our flights are mothers and babies.
Oh, wow.
You have death adders out there where you have about 8 hours to live if you get bit by a death adder. So we bring the antivenom right to the patient, get them on that, bring them back. There's tuberculosis. 98% of the people have malaria. You never realize the mosquito is one of the most dangerous, insects and creatures out there, and so there's a lot of struggles in this area. And if you can imagine walking back in time to bush houses, no electricity, no water, and people just living every day to survive.
Wow.
And that's Papua New Guinea.
So you said float plane. That caught my attention. What kind of float plane do you guys use?
So we use Cessna 206s.
Oh,
And,
wow.
We've been using those since the beginning. We have 3 now. 2 are over there currently in use, and a third one is actually here at Oshkosh at the Seaplane base.
Oh, okay.
This year.
And are these the pre mid 80s or are these the post?
Yeah, these are all pre, so we have an 80, an 81, and a 1976.
Wow.
We buy these planes, like the one we have here, $159,000, and we put about $600,000 into it
Right.
in mods, getting it ready to go.
I didn't even realize they were able to put floats on a 206.
Oh, yeah.
I'm impressed.
Oh, yeah. It's actually, in Alaska, a lot of the float planes are 206s.
Oh, okay, can we convert a 210 into a float plane?
Retractable gear, not as easy.
Yeah, not as the thing about a 206 is that it has big cargo doors on the side, and you can get a stretcher and a patient in. And so as we did research back in the day on what would be the best airplane, and our average flight's 45 minutes. Our average payload's a pilot, a nurse, a caregiver, and the patient. So 4 people, 45-minute flights. The 206 was the obvious choice for us. And we do a lot of modifications on them as well, from a right-hand door to a leading edge modification. We also put the Robertson Stoll kit, which allows the ailerons to droop with the flaps. We put Aeroset floats on there. We put a 550 engine upgrade from the IO 520. We put an 86-inch seaplane prop on there. And so we kind of just take the airplane, they're 45 years old, and we go through the whole thing and make them usable for the rough environment that we work out in Papua New Guinea.
That's really interesting. I'd like to know if you have any stories, like cool stories that stick out in your mind, maybe a time when it was dangerous getting in or out, or a really cool patient or story or something like that.
Yeah, one of my favorite stories. So we started the organization in 2000. It took 10 years going around America talking to anyone who would listen about, hey, we have this vision, this dream. We can go save lives in New Guinea, and we just kept telling the story. We didn't even have an airplane for 3 years, and
wow.
And people, I had a great business card and a nice logo, and people would be like, "This is awesome. What kind of airplane do you have?" And it's like, we don't have an airplane. Anyway, we kept telling the story. People started believing in the dream, and so finally, 10 years later, I move over there with my wife and 3 kids. Pack the plane in a 40-foot container, put it together with a bag of tools in the Capitol, and fly it 2.5 hours into where we work. And so I remember it was Good Friday, 2010, and I get this call. And it's bad weather, it's rainy.
Of course it is.
They're always, right? I remember they're like, we have a mother who's been in labor for 3 days. Can you help? And we have no way to get her into the hospital. And so I remember putting that stretcher in the plane, and I was thinking, man, I've been telling this story for 10 years that we could save lives, and here's my first opportunity. Take off through the rain, clouds, get out on the river. I see them bringing this lady unconscious up the muddy bank of the side of this river, and this river is about 700 feet wide in this area. We load her in, and the nurse, and back through the clouds, and we whack about 30-minute flight off the Sepik River, get her in, rush her into the hospital, and my wife and I go back the next day, and it's like, did the mom live? Did the baby live? We don't know, and I'll never forget walking in to the recovery room there and seeing this mom holding this little baby boy. And it was just that moment of all those years of work and just seeing these 2 lives that were saved because we answered the call that we had, but it was more than that. It was all the people that came beside us here in the States that funded the airplane, that allowed us to go out and save lives. And, it's amazing. The crazy thing is they ended up giving him my name. And so, the very first patient I ever flew in is now baby Mark. He's now 12 years old. I've seen him many times in the villages, and the mom and the sisters and his dad. And I could tell you hundreds and hundreds of stories like that, but it's about using aviation in an area where there's no access. There's no access or hope in these remote communities, and we're able to use a float plane, use our passion for aviation, our passion to help people, to share God's love in action. And we do that at no cost to these people, and we've been doing that now for 12 years. It's our 13th year in country. And it's just, it's amazing, and it's an honor really to be over there serving people that have no access or hope if we're not there, and using aviation as a tool to make a difference in the world.
How many people work at Samaritan Aviation?
We have 7 families now. We have 6 pilot families. We have a medical director. We have 6 Papua New Guinean staff as well, and then we have office staff here in the States. We have 3 airplanes now, all 206s. We're getting ready to launch into another part of the country this next year as well, in an area where they haven't had medical service in over 30 years. And so once again, it's the only way to get in there is with float planes.
So you guys all live in Papua New Guinea, like full time?
So our staff goes over there for 2 years at a time and takes their family, their kids. I lived there for 10 years with my wife. And when I first went, my youngest was 4, my middle one was 5, and my daughter was 7. So she's here at Oshkosh this year.
Oh,
she's
cool.
20 now, and
is she interested in flying?
She is, but more recreational. Yeah, more recreational than
not coming
than
in
as a career.
IMC down to 50 foot to nail that river landing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does it take to fund an operation like this?
So our budget's about $1.5 million every year, and it's growing based on the new airplanes that we're bringing over. So we're funded by individuals, foundations. We also have the PNG government, that Papua New Guinea government, that supports us at about 30% of our operations cost as well. So they're very supportive. We work in partnership with them in everything that we do. And we also, we deliver medical supplies. So that was another thing. When we first got there, I walked in and there's a medical storehouse, and it was just full of medicine. And I'm like, where are these meds going? And they're like, well, they go to these remote villages on the river. And I said, well, how?
Put them on a canoe.
Yeah, put them on a canoe, right? Well, it takes 3 to 6 months for these guys to come all the way in, get the meds, go all the way out. There's people stealing meds. There's weather that comes up over there because it's South Pacific.
Yeah.
And so these meds are just sitting there. People are dying from basic meds. So we've been able to fly over 200,000 pounds of medical supplies to these remote villages with 206 aircraft over the last few years. So we're saving lives by delivering medical supplies. Also, doing outreaches. So there's cholera outbreaks over there, something we don't deal with here. There's measles outbreaks still. Polio came back in Papua New Guinea in 2016,
Wow.
17. We delivered hundreds of thousands of vaccines working with World Health and UNICEF to stop the spread of polio in Papua New Guinea. And so we're there. We're kind of emergency response is what we do as well. So we're there for sickness outbreaks. If there's flooding, we go out and try to help the communities. And so we're really there to serve this whole 700-mile area. And doing it at no cost and being a smaller organization allows us, if there's a need, we go. There's no bureaucracy or wait to transfer money into our account and then we'll turn the plane on. It's like, no, there's a need, we go. And it's just amazing privilege. I don't know if I've just felt lucky this whole time because I think about who else can just see a need and go respond. I think that's really a strength of
Somebody
Samaritan
needs to make a
Aviation.
movie about him.
But yeah, it's been an amazing venture.
How do you pick your pilots?
You know, it's interesting. I've talked a lot about this because it's a very, you don't just need a pilot. And if a guy just wants to have an adventure, he'll last about 3 months because once a tribal war happens in the country or once his wife gets sick or his child gets sick and you're dealing with heat and trauma and people dying in the plane and, it's not all just saving lives. You deal with the downsides as well. So there's a lot of ups and downs. So it takes really a certain personality, a guy who really we're all Christians and it's really a calling that we have, the idea of loving your neighbor as yourself, the good story of the Good Samaritan. That's where our name comes from, where Jesus says, who's your neighbor? And we feel like Papua New Guinea is our neighbor and those people are our neighbors and we've got to love them as well. So it starts with that passion to serve and then you have to be a very good pilot. You have to make good decisions. You know how it goes in aviation. When the engine starts running rough, the weather's bad, and you're low on fuel, right? It's like always these things. Or in New Guinea, you've got a patient dying, the big storm's coming, or there's logs in the river, or fishing nets, or someone's in a canoe, or the waters come up and there's huge trees floating down the river. And so you have to make really good decisions, and you have to be able. We all live in a kind of a close proximity, so you have to have a personality that can get along with others. So it's really kind of a special personality type that we draw from, and then you have to have a lot of training and be very good at what you're doing on top of it all.
Do you have a time minimum for pilots that would want to do this?
No one has made it over there yet with under 500 hours.
Oh, okay.
But people come to us with 200-300 hours and keep working their way up. So we're really trying to identify the person. Because it takes that certain personality. And then we have a whole assessment system they go through. There's psychological evaluations. We actually interview the families as well because, if the wife isn't, if they're married and have kids, if the wife and the family isn't on board, they're not going to last very long either. So it's a long process. And then on top of it, after they go through all of this training, all of our pilots are AMPs, mechanics as well.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Then they get to go raise all their own support. And so they go around to their friends and family and churches and they raise all of their own salary. And so all of this work, and then they get the privilege of raising their own salary on top of it and spending 2 years at a time in a foreign country.
Are you having a hard time finding pilots?
Excellent question.
So it's interesting. If you'd asked me a year ago what our biggest need was, it was pilots. Our biggest need today is money because we're running out of space for our families and the pilots that are joining us.
So you need to expand.
And so we're expanding. And so that's exciting to me because you can have all the airplanes, if you don't have pilots and people, you're only as good as the people that are part of your organization. And we have amazing staff. And these families are there for the long term. They're not just there to go have a little adventure with their family. Like most of them they're looking at next 10, 15, 20 years of their life. They're giving up to go serve these people over there.
If somebody feels called to help you raise money, how would one do that?
Well, we'd love to have you see our website, SamaritanAviation.org. We're on Facebook, Instagram. You can also, there's lots of videos on we have a YouTube channel as well. And you can watch a lot of videos and hear more stories of lives changed and lives saved in the remote communities of Papua New Guinea.
Awesome.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming and sharing about this. This is amazing.
Yeah, what a pleasure.
Well, thank you.
I can't wait to see your airplane.
Yeah, come to the Seaplane base and we'll give you a tour.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, and thank you guys for watching and being a part of this. And again, go to SamaritanAviation.org if you would like to be involved, whether it's through donating. They could always use money, or if you feel like you've got a calling to go serve, check it out. It could be a life-changing event.
Yeah, and if you like our content, please like, subscribe, share, use that discount code Taking Off for cool sunglasses, and we'll see you next time.
In the hangar.